Chelsea's story has taken a dramatic and unexpected turn, and this time, it's not just about football. At the center of the storm is Roman Abramovich, the former owner who transformed Chelsea into a global powerhouse. After years of silence following his forced sale of the club in 2022, Abramovich is once again making headlines, and the implications could stretch far beyond Stamford Bridge. Recent reports claim that a UK court ruling has shifted the narrative around Abramovich, potentially easing some of the restrictions that have defined his post-Chelsea era. While details remain murky, what has truly ignited global debate is the explosive suggestion that King Charles III may have granted him a royal pardon. If true, this would mark an extraordinary intersection of politics, law, and sport. A royal pardon is no ordinary gesture. It carries deep symbolic weight, often reserved for cases that touch on national interest, justice, or historical reconsideration. For Abramovich, a figure long associated with geopolitical controversy, such a move would signal a dramatic shift in how he is perceived within the United Kingdom. But here's the critical question: is this about justice or influence? Abramovich's departure from Chelsea FC was one of the most high-profile consequences of the geopolitical tensions surrounding Russia in 2022. Under intense pressure, he was sanctioned by the UK government, forcing him to sell the club he had owned for nearly 2 decades. That era saw Chelsea win multiple Premier League titles, domestic cups, and the UEFA Champions League, cementing his legacy as one of football's most influential owners. Now, the possibility of a legal and symbolic rehabilitation raises serious questions. Supporters of Abramovich argue that this could represent a correction of past decisions, a chance to reassess a complex situation with fresh legal clarity. They point to his contributions to English football and his relatively low public profile during the height of political tensions as reasons to reconsider his standing. Critics, however, see it very differently. To them, the idea of a royal pardon suggests that power and influence may still shape outcomes behind closed doors. They argue that granting such a privilege to a billionaire with deep political ties risks undermining public trust, especially in a climate where accountability is under intense scrutiny. For Chelsea fans, the situation is deeply emotional. Abramovich isn't just a former owner, he represents the most successful era in the club's history. The trophies, the legendary players, the unforgettable nights in Europe, all of it is tied to his tenure. The idea that his name could be politically rehabilitated, or even reconnected to the club in some indirect way, has sparked intense debate among supporters. Some welcome the possibility, seeing it as a restoration of a figure who brought unprecedented success. Others believe the club has moved on and should not revisit a past entangled in global politics. Meanwhile, the broader football world is watching closely. The Premier League has worked hard to maintain its image as a global competition built on integrity and governance. Any development that suggests political influence at the highest level could have ripple effects across the league, from ownership regulations to international perception. And beyond football, the story touches on something even bigger: the relationship between power, justice, and public perception. If a royal pardon has indeed been granted, it raises profound questions about how decisions are made at the highest levels of society. Who gets forgiven? Under what circumstances? And what message does it send to the wider world? At this stage, much remains unconfirmed. The reports are dramatic, the claims are bold, but the full truth is still unfolding. What is certain, however, is this: the conversation has shifted. This is no longer just about a football club or a former owner. It's about influence, legacy, and the blurred lines between sport and politics. As fans, analysts, and observers try to make sense of it all, one thing is clear: the story of Roman Abramovich is far from over. And whether this moment is remembered as justice served or power exercised, will depend on what comes next.